Welcome to RV Out West. I'm your host, Brooks. My family of four's base camp is located in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, and our RV adventures radiate from there. I'm relatively new to RVing, and a few years ago, I convinced my wife that for an anniversary present, we should buy a used tent trailer from some friends of ours. Ever since then, we have fallen head over heels for the RV life, and we now find ourselves towing a 26-foot Jayco travel trailer. So grab yourself a mug of coffee and join us as we discuss RVing around the West. From sweet camping spots, gear and equipment, to tips and tricks, we've got you covered. We are RV Out West. Whether you're a full-time or a novice RVer, you know the value of fresh, clean water in your rig. The problem is, many RVers, even the experienced ones, aren't aware of all the options available to them. Keith Bernard is CEO of Clear2O, one of the leading manufacturers of water filtration systems for RVs. They've been in business since 2008 and have developed some of the most effective and reliable water filtration products on the market. Keith is here today on RV Out West to talk about options available for RV water filtration, along with the pros and cons of each solution. We think this information will be extremely helpful as you consider and evaluate which system is best for you and your needs, or if you're thinking about changing your current method. Keith, welcome to the show.
Brooks, thanks a lot for having us. We're really happy to be able to speak to you today.
So I understand, Keith, that you and your family have been RVing now since about 2016. And the reason you guys kind of got into it, I think a reason a lot of us do is, I say it's the magic of the campfire, but really it's that family time around the campfire that is just, spending time together. And what other reasons kind of got you guys into doing RVing?
Well, you really kind of nailed it in the first place. It was video games. And we really wanted to try to avoid those taking up all of the time for our kids and getting them outside. I grew up camping and the outdoors, and my wife enjoys it. And just with the stresses of life, it's just so much nicer when we drive away in our RV. It's like we leave everything behind and you go away and just have an enjoyable weekend, fun times with family. You do things that are maybe on the more old fashioned. My kids are growing up fast. They're going to be gone here pretty soon. And these are opportunities that we can't miss out on.
So with Clear2O, I'm really interested in what your inspiration was for kind of starting a water filtration company. Kind of what was the need you saw?
In 2017, I actually had been working for the company a long time and had the opportunity to buy it. So my wife and I purchased the company and we became small business entrepreneurs at that point in time. We run the business. It's a very, very small family-owned business. We wear every hat. We're the customer service. I may be the one who actually boxed it up and shipped it out to you if you ordered it off our website. We do the sales calls and we do everything else on the product, including the product development. So we actually started out in the water pitcher business and the filtration side of the business. And it wasn't actually until we went and bought our own RV that we started looking at what was available for the RV market. And being that we actually had a water pitcher and a filtration method that worked very well, we just decided to make our own filter at that point in time. And so we made it for ourselves at first and then decided, hey, if we like this, other people are going to like it as well. We've had a long success with the same type of filter in our water pitcher, and we really wanted to bring that out to the mass market. And we did that in 2017 and continued to grow from there.
So are you guys then using your inline filter and then still using your water pitcher filters inside your RV, or are you straight out of the tap now?
Well, we originally did that when we used a competitive product, but when we replaced it with our own, we actually were applying the same 1 micron level of filtration in the inline. So right now, I make all my coffee, I make anything that we cook with or whatever it may be is straight out of the faucet. So we don't bring bottled water with us anymore, and we don't pay any attention to any of the other stuff that you need. We just go ahead and straight right out of the faucet into the pitcher.
Water filtration as an industry is filled with a lot of competition right now. But so what is it about Clear2O that really makes your product stand out?
Our background and our tagline for our company is better water by design. And really, we try to live that rule overall. What we're really attempting to do is really truly give you a better water experience in your glass itself. So the difference between us and most of the other products that are on the market is we actually make the majority of our products through solid carbon block that actually then goes through a much tighter pour, a much tighter micron level. And in doing so, you get a much, much higher amount of carbon and as well as much higher level of filtration. So the majority of competitors actually use granular carbon, and granular carbon it's a great technology. Don't get me wrong. It's good, but the water has a tendency to flow very quickly through it, and it doesn't have that residency time to be able to do the proper exchange with the water. So it doesn't capture as many contaminants. So we can take out many, many more things than a granular carbon filter can take out.
Interesting. With the Clear 2.0 inline filter, how often are you supposed to swap those out and, say, hey, it's time? I mean, I don't even write a date on mine, and now hindsight, I probably should, so I have an idea.
Right.
But I have no idea how many gallons of water I've pushed through my inline filter. And I don't know if it's just hey, it's the new season. What are your recommendations on that?
But we test our products to 1,000 gallons. And so with normal usage, that should take you to around 3 months. But I can tell you, it really comes down to the quality of water you're starting with, because our filter is designed to trap contaminants. So if you have bad water to start with, you're going to use that filter up faster than that.
Right, it's going to shorten the lifespan.
It really comes down to the quality of water that you have. Now, for a granular carbon, some people use those for 3 months and then they still see that their flow rate is really, really good. And they like, well, I'm just going to continue to use it. Well, I would tell you and caution you on that, because most likely the carbon has absorbed all it's going to absorb at that point in time. So in truth, all you're doing is running water through it. So it's important to just change those out. For our filter, you can tell when to change it, actually when the flow rate starts to become restricted, basically meaning that the filter is becoming clogged. That's going to be your primary sign that says when it's becoming clogged, it's now time to change that filter out.
We are weekenders, spring break, but we are year-rounders. So this summer for July, we're taking off and we're on the road for the entire month of July, and I'm just going to be working remotely from the road. So in that sense, I'm really intrigued about your Dirt Guard product and using that in conjunction with an inline filter. What can you kind of tell me about how those work?
We consider that there's kind of two groups of people that in the RV, very broad scale. Those that are like what we just described, weekenders or part-timers, and then those who are in full-time and who are using it on a full-time basis 24/7. And that's two different levels and two different types of consumer out there in regard to how much water they're actually using.
And different needs too.
Absolutely. But they should both get equal levels of quality of water. We shouldn't have bad quality for the weekenders and great quality for the full-timers.
Right.
So you need both. It's just a matter of convenience. And so in doing so with an inline filter, especially our inline filter, you can get a high quality level of filtration. When you add the Dirt Guard to it, the Dirt Guard is actually a product that wraps around the filter. The filter actually screws into the Dirt Guard and makes for a two-stage filtration. So now you have a pre-filter through the Dirt Guard. It's going to trap all of the sand and the silt and the sediments, etc. All the things that clog filters up are going to be trapped in the Dirt Guard. And we designed it so that it actually is washable. You can take the filter out.
Oh, great.
You'll notice that it's a hard type of plastic overall, very durable, very rigid kind of filter. And you can remove it, scrub it. You can actually even backwash it and be able to extend the life out. Because our goal on that is for it to trap the dirt and be able to take all that out so that doesn't go into your filter. When you have sediment and clays and silt that actually go into your carbon filter, it coats the carbon, and it can coat it to a level and degree that it prevents the water from actually getting near the carbon. So therefore, the water now is going around the carbon as opposed to through the carbon.
Being for it, yeah.
And so exactly. So you're not getting the benefit of the carbon. So if we can get all of that out first, then it's going to give you that 2 stages. It's going to make your carbon filter work better, and it's going to prevent all of that from getting through. Now, we started at 20 micron, then we go all the way to our 1 micron.
So tell me a bit more now, when we look at somebody who's going full-time, kind of the nomadic living, what kind of filtration system do you think is the best choice and option when you are really looking at that residential water solution for your RV?
So that's a great question, because really what it comes down to, and what I always tell people is it's a matter of convenience, or it's a matter of the quantity of water that you're trying to actually use. So if you're a weekender or even a short-term full-timer, that the inline systems are easy, they're easy to hook up, and they're easy to use, replace, etc. But if you now move over where you're spending a significant amount of time on the road, then you may want to move over into a canister-based system. More and more RVs are actually starting with 1 canister, and they're becoming more standard overall. But once you go into a canister, you're going to jump from 3 to 4 gallons per minute, depending on the filter that you use, all the way up to 5 to 6 gallons per minute. So your flow rate is going to increase dramatically. And of course, with that comes the capacity of water and the capacity of the filters. So you get longer life filters. The quality of water, depending on the filter you buy, is going to be the same. If you buy a good quality filter in the inline, then you're going to get great water. The difference between weekend camping, where those showers are quick and you're in and out, as opposed to where you're residential and you're taking longer showers, you're using more water, you're using up a lot more gallons. And we really recommend that you consider moving over into a larger canister type system.
That's cool. As a kid, I drank out of the water faucet, out of the garden hose growing up as a kid, whatever. Has Clear 2.0 done any research on just general campground water? I mean, in that deep, nerdy stuff. I guess what I'm getting at is, what's the big bad boogeyman stuff that I need to worry about?
Well, there's 2 things. One, we have done some research on that, and overwhelmingly we've had the response from consumers that they've had a bad campground experience on water. Now, that's not to say all campgrounds are bad. That's
of course. Yeah, no, of course.
There are campgrounds that have great water, but there's also ones that have poor water. You have some that are hooked up to the city water services, and then you have others that are on purely well water and perhaps not even any treatment going along with that. So we try to make sure that, and what I try to sell everybody is to help them understand is that if you filter your water, then you're in control of what's going on with that water. So you don't have to trust the campground.
Right.
You don't have to trust the county or the city or the state. You don't have to trust any of the things that they're doing over there, which may be different than what you're maybe used to in your own hometown. But you can filter the water at your site, and whatever's coming from the other side of it is actually going to be better water than what you started with. And so obviously we always want people to come and try our filter. We think it makes the best water. But if you're just filtering your water, you're actually doing a very positive thing.
Let's talk about how to think about setting up your own water filtration system on your RV. Is there a particular recommendation or some thoughts you think about what that could look like?
Yeah, absolutely. The rule of thumb that we like to follow is to be thinking about things in 3 different levels. So there are different types of filtration out there that do different types of things. There's blocking type of filtration that just physically keeps things out of your water. And then there's also absorption type things like carbon that actually absorbs the contaminants that go by. And you want both of these types of filtration to be able to get the best water. One by itself doesn't necessarily get everything. So you need this combination overall that works. So the first stage is really a pre-filter stage. So if you can put in a pre-filter, then that's going to keep out, as we talked about earlier, the dirt guard. It acts as a pre-filter.
Yep.
And that keeps the sticks and the stones and the sand and the silt and the sediment, and keeps those things out of your water. It keeps that from going into your RV, clogging up or getting in your fixtures, et cetera, as well. So that's just best to keep it away from your RV altogether. The second stage is usually a solid carbon type of filtration system. And when you do that and you push your water through that solid carbon, then what happens is it actually has time to absorb. So this is where any chlorine that's in the water is going to be absorbed. If there's lead in the water, it's going to be absorbed there as well. And some of it is going to both be absorbed by the carbon and some of it is going to bond to the carbon. So it's two different types of chemical attraction that carbon has, which why carbon is such a wonderful material is it does draw things out of the water. So going through that second stage, and then to think in terms of a third stage would be where you drop to a very low micron stage. So generally this is 1 to perhaps a half micron. And what this does now is get into the microbial level. So when you get down to that level, you're now protecting your water all the way down to the microbial levels, and you can guarantee that you're drinking clean, pure water. So we really only think about that third stage for the drinking water stage if you can add that stage in. If not, you get really good quality water on the first two stages as well.
What's something then that Clear 2.0 has in your suite of products that gets you down to that microbial level of half a micron? Or
you mentioned earlier in our side conversation about the water pitcher that you use. So we offer two different water pitchers, that one's at 1 micron and one's at a half micron. So our gravity water pitcher can be that third level. You can keep it, it fits in your RV refrigerator, and all you do is just fill that up at the sink and use that for your drinking water, your cooking water, etc. And that's going to again get down below that or to that half micron level.
So then what has been kind of one of your greatest challenges that Clear 2.0 has had to work to overcome?
Well, again, I said that we were a small family-owned business, and so we're everything. I do all of the product development. I have an engineer that I work with as well, and a factory that I work with, and we develop this, we test it, we figure it out, and we are the resources for all of that. So we are going up against companies that have departments that do what we do. We do believe that we're making better water, and we do really want, that is our goal and our desire to make better water. And so that's the kind of motivation behind everything for us to be able to do what we do. Getting that message out to everyone is not the easiest in the world. And when we're trying to not only grow a business, develop products, and be able to do all of the things, I often say my day job is the shipping, the production, the manufacturing, everything that we need to do to just keep a business running. And then my night job is product development. And so so we work around the clock sometimes to be able to get everything out the door. But, I wouldn't go back. I love it. I enjoy it. And when we go to a trade show and we meet with some of our customers, it's really great. It's really great that people come up and say, I before I was buying all the bottled water. Now I don't have to anymore. And, that just actually makes us feel really good about what we're doing.
Not quite full water filtration, but I'm kind of putting you in as the water expert. I'm really curious, what backup parts for your water system do you keep in your RV?
Well, I carry a couple of extra things there, and a couple of them are just little hose protectors. Now, everybody probably has a hose protector or the little short 6-inch hose protectors because they just make it easier for everything. And then in doing so, it's much easier on your fittings. But I find that they're just so much easier. We never get to a campground in the daylight. We're always coming in the evening time, I'm the one out there trying to figure out how to get the hose screwed onto the spigot and everything else. And just, if you have the little spinners on the end of the hose protector, I just find it makes everything so much easier and I can do it faster. I also travel with an additional 25-foot hose because I've had hoses go bad on me in the campsite. And so in doing so, I just never know when that one's going to go. And when it goes, that's a problem. I've got to disconnect everything to go find something new. So I just carry a spare with me.
What has been maybe one of your most family treasured trips that you guys have taken in your RV?
We had an educational trip where we went to Washington, D.C., we went to Williamsburg, and it was great. It was really fantastic because it was kind of a little bit of the camping mixed with all of the museums that go along with it. And it was really it was really a special trip overall for us to be able to go do that. So we're, again, full-time working. So this was a 10-day trip for us. So that was a long time to be away overall, but it was a great trip.
The Smithsonian's, did you guys hit all the?
We did. We hit them all. We wore our shoes out.
That's great. But I am going to pin you now. It's kind of becoming my thing, but I like to ask everybody I speak with, what is your favorite national park? You can only pick one.
You know, it's a great question. We have not had the opportunity to travel around the country and see a lot of the better ones, especially it being at the tip of Florida overall. So I'm going to have to go with our state, Ocala National Forest, because that's where we spent the majority of our time.
Wonderful.
And it's a great place. Probably a lot of people have not ever heard of it, but it's a great national park there.
And is that kind of just where you'll go for weekends? I mean, it's close enough to your home that it's easy jaunt for a weekend getaway kind of thing.
It is. It's about 4.5 hours away, and so it's something we can get to and get back again. We've gone plenty of times also to Everglades here in South Florida, and so that's just a unique place overall. But we've enjoyed. If you like to see alligators, there's lots of alligators there.
Keith, I just would like to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day for joining me here on RV Out West to talk about water filtration. I learned a lot, and I actually now know I need to make a lot of changes to my water system. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
All right, Brooks, thanks for having me on. I'm really glad to have spoken to you today, and I really hope that your water actually improves overall, and it can be better for going for the future.
It's time for a pit stop. And in this pit stop, we're going to be talking about Astoria, Oregon. Places you can camp, things to do, what to see, where to explore, and definitely where to grab a beer. Nestled in the upper left corner of Oregon lies the beautiful seaport community of Astoria. This town rests where the mouth of the Columbia River connects to the mighty Pacific Ocean. Astoria was established in 1811 when the crew aboard the John Jacob Astor ship, the Tonkin, staked the first U.S. claim to the west coast of the continent. The party established a fur trading outpost here at the mouth of the Columbia River, and Astoria then became the first permanent U.S. settlement west of the Rocky Mountains. I love this place. It's raw, has great local craft beer, and a wonderful food scene, especially if you love seafood. The people are kind and charismatic, but here, Mother Nature runs the joint. It really is a jewel of the Pacific Northwest. There are many great activities to do in and around Astoria. Visit Fort Stevens State Park. From beachcombing, kite flying, making sandcastles, you are also able to drive up and down the beach. And depending on the fishing season, you might even be able to dig for clams. Just be sure to check the Fish and Wildlife site for the season and be sure you're carrying a fishing license. While you can camp at this state park, just across the street is the Astoria KOA. This is where we stayed, and this campground was amazing. Even with some of the amenities closed due to COVID, there was just so much for the kids to play and explore. This is a wonderful KOA, and our family will definitely be back to stay again. My only disappointment is that you have to go up to the main lodge front desk area to purchase firewood. I wish they had someone drive around in their mini golf carts, say around 4 or 5, offering wood sales directly out of the back of the cart. Otherwise, from the putt-putt golf, the trampoline bouncy thing they've got, and four-wheeled bikes, the BMX course were a complete smashing success with our family, and we had so much fun playing together. The town of Astoria is about a 15-minute drive from the campground, and there is a lot to explore in the area. The Astoria Column is an art installation on Coxcomb Hill that overlooks the Columbia River. The tower was built in 1926 with financing by the Great Northern Railway and Vincent Astor, the great-grandson of Jacob Astor, in commemorative of the city's role in the family business history. Patterned after the Trajan Column in Rome, the Astoria Column was dedicated on July 22, 1926. Visiting the park or climbing the column is free, but there's a $5 fee to park your vehicle. Astoria is rich with maritime history. The bar, as people refer to it, lies just beyond the mouth of the Columbia River and is frequently referred to as the graveyard of the Pacific. The bar is where the river's current dissipates into the Pacific Ocean, often as large standing waves. The waves are partially caused by the deposition of sediment as the river slows, as well as mixing with ocean waves. The waves, wind, and current are hazardous for vessels of all sizes. The bar is about 3 miles wide and 6 miles long. It is known as one of the most dangerous bar crossings in the world. The Columbia River Maritime Museum is built on the banks of the Great Columbia River. The museum is designed to integrate the incredible unfolding scenery of the Columbia River directly outside their panoramic windows. Founded in 1962 with the mission to collect and preserve historical and cultural material relevant to the Columbia River, the Columbia River Maritime Museum is designated as the official maritime museum of the state of Oregon. For a list of their current exhibits, you can visit their website at crm.org. Astoria has also been the scenes in a few Hollywood movies, and while these are people's private homes, I feel I should say that both the home in Goonies and Free Willy are both located in Astoria. I'm not going to give much more info than that, but if you do go to Astoria and choose to search out these landmarks, I would urge you to be kind and respectful, as these locations are not museums, but rather homes where people currently live. So please, keep that in mind. Now, after a day of adventures and exploring, I don't know about you, but I would be ready for a beer and some food. Astoria is a great food town, and if you find yourself here, you really should treat yourself to some seafood. To find wild-caught seafood that is caught right here is the most authentic fresh fish you can find. Two of my favorite spots are Fort George Brewery and Public House, opened in March 2007 on the site of the first American settlement on the U.S. West Coast, Fort Astoria, also known as Fort George. This public house has a cool ambiance and high vaulted ceilings and a great view of the river, and their diversity of their beers is indicative of the brewer's creativity. A 10-minute drive away is Bowie Beer Company. Their location is in a cannery that is over 90 years old. The building has a uniqueness, history, and their views can't be beat. In fact, in the dining room, they have glass floors as the cannery extends out over the river. And while you're sitting at your table, there's a good chance you can look below your feet and see an abundance of sea lions nestled up on the piling footings. Bowie Beer Company's take on pub food is heavily rooted in seafood, from clam chowder to oysters and tuna sandwiches. They have wonderful food and a wide selection of super tasty beers to accompany your meal and help you after a day of exploring in the area. I have had some of the best oysters on the half shell at Bowie Beer Company. I should add that both of these brew pubs are kid-friendly as well. The big difference between these two breweries is that Fort George has a great selection of ales, while Bowie has a wider selection of lagers. So depending on your tastes, forget it. You really should just hit both of these breweries when you're in town. Astoria, Oregon is beautiful, rich with history, natural wonders, and is worthy of at least a 3-night stop. The next time you are planning to visit the Oregon coast, be sure to head north to this corner of the United States. Thanks so much for listening. In our next episode in 2 weeks, we're going to share with you about Lake Chelan. For us Washingtonians, this is probably the place to visit. From wine country and tasting rooms to water slides, jet skis, and lazy day on the beaches, to even dipping in a fishing pole. There's just so much to see and do in the area. In the meantime, please subscribe to our podcast, and if you would kindly give it a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcast, I sure would appreciate it. In the meantime, get out there, explore, and go see what's beyond the horizon. Thanks so much for listening to RV Out West. Join us again in 2 weeks with our next episode. Please like and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or wherever you choose to get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And I sure would appreciate if you left a rating or a review of the show. Special thanks to Scott Holmes Music for providing the intro song, We Are One. RV Out West can be found on Instagram and Facebook, where you can interact with us and follow along on our RV adventures around the Pacific Northwest. So get out there, explore, and go see what's beyond the horizon.